All right, let's talk coronavirus. And I'm going to tell you how our experience was and what our symptoms were and just our experience with it. However, keep in mind that this virus affects everyone differently. Some people show no symptoms at all, some people are hit really hard and really drastically. We did have symptoms and we were down for the count for a few days. But I know for certain that we recovered so quickly from this because of the fact that we are really healthy. We do have strong immune systems. We eat healthy. We exercise. We're very healthy people. Had we not been healthy people, had we not taken care of ourselves prior to getting this virus, I know that we would have been hit harder and I know it would have been a lot harder to recover. That's why it's so important to take care of yourself. It's not going to prevent you from getting sick. There are a lot of, world-class athletes who have gotten this virus and people who are very healthy, like myself. I am very, very healthy. And if you're exposed to it and you end up getting it, you're going to get it. However, there are things you can do to make it so that you can recover and so that you do not get hit so hard. So, eating healthy, drinking lots of fluids, exercising, getting fresh air, boosting your immune system, doing all those things that I have been saying since day one that are so important in order to be able to stay healthy. So our experience, here's kind of a rundown of how it was for us. On Tuesday morning, it was a Tuesday, Ryden said, I don't feel good. And I was like, well, what do you mean you don't feel good? He's like, I don't know. I just don't feel good. My body kind of hurts and I have a sore throat and a headache and I just don't really feel good. And I was like, okay, well, and right now it's like I'm thinking, okay, this is probably just a cold. There are still colds that people can get. But just to be safe, we're going to go and get tested. So I told him, I said, if you stay home from school, you know that you're going to have to go get tested. He said, okay. And so I had actually I threw my back out earlier in the week. And so I had been having a headache and was just really tired. It was about to be that time of the month for me. So I just kind of brushed it off. The headache I thought was from throwing my back out and my neck was kind of out of alignment. So I just kind of assumed that those two things were connected. So I didn't really think anything of it. I wasn't feeling like sick or anything at this point and just kind of lack of energy. But whenever it's that time of the month for me, I'm always really tired. So like I said, I didn't really think anything of it. But me and Ryden, we went to go get tested. I figured since he was getting tested, I would get tested too, just for peace of mind. So we both got tested on Tuesday. And Tuesday night, we both, I'm a hypochondriac. So just the fact that we got tested, I get really bad anxiety about sickness. I get really bad anxiety about anything like that. So in my mind, I said, I'm making myself sick worrying about this. I started feeling really tired. I started having a worse headache. My throat was getting kind of sore. And so I'm like, okay, this is just me being a hypochondriac, imagining these things. Well, as the day went on, things got worse. By Wednesday, we woke up and Ryden was really not feeling good. He was really tired, sore throat. I did give him he had a fever. I had a fever as well at this point. And so I gave him some children's medicine. And now at this point, I had really bad body aches. The night before I woke up, and actually the body aches were not anything I've ever experienced before. Normally when I've had a cold or a flu and I have body aches, it's actually my skin and my muscles that hurt. But this was different. This was not my skin or my muscles. This was actually my bones and my joints. Like literally my toes hurt, my knees hurt, my hips hurt. I woke up in the middle of the night and I never take medication. The only thing I use for medication typically, I use food. And so I started cooking us really healthy meals. I started making really healthy soups with like ginger and lemon and cayenne and fresh herbs and all of those things to try and help heal our body. However, at this point, I was really in a lot of pain. So I woke up the whole time. The only medication I took is 1 dose of Alka-Seltzer. It had like pain reliever in it. And so I took that night, that Tuesday night, I woke up in the middle of the night and I was really in a lot of pain. I mean, I was actually crying because my hips hurt so bad and I could not even sleep. So I took some Alka-Seltzer. And then that night, actually, as well, I gave Ryden some children's Tylenol to help with his fever and to help him as well. That is the only medication that either of us took the entire time. Otherwise, it was drinking lots of fluids, drinking lots of water, Pedialyte, having soups and brothy, just lots of fluids. I had really healthy food. I had no energy at this point. By Wednesday, it took every ounce of energy for me to stand up and even just stand. And if you know me, you know that I'm very high strung. You know that I'm go, 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 and I don't really sit down very much. So for me, that was very difficult because I wanted to do all these things, but I just did not have the energy. It took every ounce of energy for me to stand up. So I pretty much laid in bed. I was down for the count with severe body aches, fever, I'd be sweating and then cold, the typical hot and cold sweats, headache, sore throat, no energy. And I mean absolutely no energy. Like I pretty much had to crawl out of my bed and walk 3 feet to my bathroom because there was just no energy. I was like that for about 3 days. Ryden was like that for about 1 day and then he was back to himself way before me. So he was running around like going crazy, jumping off the couches, and I was still sick longer than he was. So he recovered within 1 to 2 days. For me, I was down for the count, really bad body aches. Like I said, I pretty much spent 3 days in my bed or in a bath, in an Epsom salt bath soak, trying to feel better. For me, the worst part was actually the body aches. So anyways, let's talk real quick about the testing process because for me, I was very unhappy with the testing process itself. I live in a small town where everyone knows everyone. I am all over social media for my businesses. I'm a very well-known person. And so we pull up and it's like a parking lot. There's a big, huge green signs everywhere that says COVID testing. So you pull up, you stay in your car, which I think is great. However, what was not great about this is that there's big signs and it's right in a spot where everybody's walking past. Everybody who's going into the clinic is walking past. Anyone else getting tested is looking over at you. So when we pulled up, Ryden was already nervous about this. There was a car next to us. A little girl was getting tested and he watched it happen. He saw what he was about to have happen to him, and this girl started bawling her eyes out, and he saw that whole thing. So that made it scary for him, for one. For two, when it was our turn to get tested, there were 5 people within the time we were sitting in that parking lot who walked past and saw us sitting there, who we knew personally. For me, that was a very huge invasion of privacy. I did not want people to know that I was there. It was terrifying for me because, first of all, I have a food business. Like, everyone is so crazy scared of COVID right now that I was sitting there thinking this is going to ruin my business. Like, I have seen 5 people who I know personally who know that I'm sitting right here right now. It was a very shameful feeling. People were walking past staring. People that pulled up and were also getting tested are staring at you as you get tested. You're watching other people get tested. The entire testing process for me was worse than any part of the COVID thing. So I really think they need to make some improvements on that. I was not happy. I felt so shameful. It was like just such a shameful feeling. And so you're sitting there and people are just gawking at you, walking past like, oh my gosh, it's not right. And they really need to change that testing process because it's just not right. Like, it's not right. So that for me was horrible. And then I am very open on social media with my entire life. I share everything. This was something that I wasn't sure that I wanted to share. It was such a shameful feeling. So, we stayed home, we quarantined until we waited for our test results. I sat and waited for these test results. I had so much anxiety. I could not sleep. I was in pure panic mode because that Saturday before we had symptoms, before we knew we were sick, we were around a ton of people. We went on this big, huge 4-wheeler ride, which luckily it was all outside, but we were around so many people. So my anxiety was through the roof. Justin had also been over at my parents' house, and my parents are both very high risk. My dad has very high blood pressure. My mom has asthma and just very, very high risk. Neither of them are healthy. And if they were to get this, that was my biggest fear. Like, what would this do to them? It would be very difficult for them to recover. So I was just completely for the 2 days that I waited for the results, in pure anxiety. I could not sleep. That also lowers your immune system. Also the fact that my back was out of alignment, I know that lowers your immune system as well. So I had all these things working against me that were just like making me physically ill. So we got our test results. Actually, we got them Wednesday at like 4:40, but I didn't know because they hadn't called me yet. And I didn't check my email or my chart. I woke up Thursday morning at 3:00 in the morning, and I just had this feeling like I have to check my chart. And so I checked it and I saw our results and it came back positive. And I literally woke Justin up and I was panicked. I was like, oh my gosh, because I knew that it was probably COVID after having really bad body aches and everything, but actually seeing it was terrifying. I didn't know what else was going to happen. I didn't know how we were going to respond. It was so scary. And for me, it was more of, what are people going to think? How is this going to affect my business? I shut down my business for 2 weeks. We quarantined for 2 weeks. But I was really worried. I didn't know, do I tell my customers that we have COVID? Or do I not? We had to go through and tell all of those people that we were with. We were with so many people. So because of us, we had to have all these people go get tested. Ryden's entire classroom, they had to quarantine for 14 days, and they recommended that every single kid in his classroom get tested as well. So it was like there were all these people who were tested from us, and we felt just shameful. And it was just an embarrassing, very shameful feeling, like we had done something wrong. But we hadn't done anything wrong. We did all the right steps. We immediately notified the school as soon as we knew. As soon as we were getting tested, actually. And then again, as soon as we got the results, we immediately notified every single person we had been in contact with, which was hard to do. It was embarrassing. You feel like, oh my gosh, if someone gets this, they're going to blame me. It's just a very not a good feeling. So luckily, I had to notify my kitchen helper as well, because she was in close contact with me, and her husband and her were supposed to go to a wedding, and so they had to miss out on the wedding. And it's just, you just feel bad, even though it's not your fault. You feel bad because people have made COVID such a shameful thing. I remember getting a cold prior to this, and literally I would continue on with life like nothing. Justin would get a cold and I would tell him to suck it up and quit being a baby. Ryden would get a cold normally and I'd tell him, you're fine, go to school. Like, that's just normally what you do, because we've never experienced anything like COVID that is so different and so unknown. So I was terrified. Like, do I tell my customers? I have to shut down for 2 weeks. What do I tell my customers? Do I just make something up and tell them I'm closed for 2 weeks? Or do I tell them the truth that I have COVID? Will I lose customers for this? Will they be scared? Even though I know personally, first of all, they say that it can't be transmitted through food. First of all. Second of all, I know that my process with my cooking and my sanitation in my kitchen, it is like a surgical room. It is so clean. We follow all food and sanitation guidelines above and beyond. I've been in a lot of kitchens and I can tell you, we go above and beyond. There is not a chance And I know this, but people are just so weird and scared of COVID that I didn't know if other people would just be freaked out or what. So even though I know there would be no chance of any of my customers getting this from my food, I wear gloves at all times. I wear a mask at all times. I wash my hands religiously. Like, we wash, rinse, and sanitize everything. It is very, very clean. Cleaner than the minimum requirements, which are very clean. So I knew I wasn't worried about that. However, I was just worried about, like, if people knew that I had it, are they going to be scared to order from me? Are they going to think that they're going to get COVID? Because honestly, it's just so unknown and people are so scared of it. And so I was terrified this was going to ruin my business. I was actually supposed to be celebrating. I had a huge sale planned for this week. It was supposed to be my 2 years of business. And I had this huge sale where I was going to give all of my customers $10 off on their order. And instead, I had to refund all of my orders and email everyone who had placed orders and come up with an explanation. But I decided, after some thought on it, I decided I was going to be 100% truthful, because everything I stand for is being 100% transparent with the food that I'm making. I'm not trying to mislead anyone. What you get is what you see. There are so many food businesses who try to mislead and deceive people into thinking things are healthy when they're not. They'll use the label fresh and real. Okay, fresh and real, like, most things are fresh and real. And if it's not, well, that's a problem. They'll use those things, like, and all natural is the biggest one. People will use all natural chicken or all natural this or all natural that. And I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole nother topic, but if you just watch some documentaries on the food industry and how misleading people are, my mission is to not be one of those people and mislead people. You are getting healthy things, and what you see is what you get. I'm always 100% transparent on the ingredients and everything in it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to be 100% transparent on this as well. If I lose some customers, I lose some customers, but at least I can sleep at night knowing that I did the right thing, that I was upfront and honest, and my customer's response was amazing. I was so worried. I was like, they're never going to order from me again. They're going to be weirded out. They're going to be freaked out. I'm going to lose everything I've worked for. But I probably did lose a couple customers, and honestly, that doesn't surprise me. However, most of my customers responded to my email that I sent to them, and they said, thank you so much for being transparent and upfront, and I really appreciate that. That tells a lot about your character and about the person that you are. And my customers actually really appreciated that I was honest with them. And I just know that I feel better knowing I was honest with them instead of coming up with some other thing. Like, it just wouldn't have felt right. It wouldn't have been right. And I couldn't stand behind that. So I'm very happy with how I handled it. And like I said, anyone can get this. Like, for me, I had extra pressure because I am so healthy. I felt like, well, how could I get this when I'm such a healthy person? Anyone can get this. And that's why you have to be healthy, and so you can recover and, like, heal from this, because anyone can get it. It's literally no different than any cold or flu. I was sick for 3 days, but honestly, I will tell you, I have been way sicker than this. Ryden even said, he goes, I've gone to school way sicker than this before. Why can't I go to school? You know, I had to explain to him that it's, different, whatever, but both of us have been way sicker. And to be honest, I've probably had 5-day hangovers worse and harder than this to recover from, just being honest. However, I am healthy. I do have a strong immune system, and I know that played a major, major role in why we recovered so quickly. So anyways, that is my experience with COVID. Yes, it sucked. Yes, it wasn't fun, but I've been sicker than that before, and I know everyone reacts to it differently. So my experience may not be the same experience that you have. You may not have any symptoms, or you may need to be hospitalized. So everyone is different. This is just personally how it was for us. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to add in here. Like I said, the worst part about COVID wasn't even the COVID symptoms. It was the testing process and the shame that we felt. Even after we quarantined for 2 weeks, people are still like scared of us. Literally, we have gone to hockey and I feel like people walk away from me. They're like, most people don't, but there are some instances where I feel like people are still scared of us. And Ryden, that was the worst part about all of this for me. The worry of my business, the shame you feel, and hopefully me talking about this will kind of like get rid of some of the shame. I'm almost relieved that we got it and that we know we're fine, and so that we can stop living in fear, because there's so much fear put out there about this. I mean, people treat people who have had COVID like they're goddamn aliens, or it's just, the shame has to end. It really does. This is no different than a cold. This is no different than the flu. And every single person in the world has had a cold or a flu. If you're in the right place at the right time and you're exposed, you're gonna get it. You're going to get it. And I personally refuse to live my life in fear. Yes, I am cautious. Yes, I care about other people. I wear my mask. I wash my hands. I wear gloves when I'm cautious. I'm thinking of other people. However, I am not going to live my life in fear, and I am not going to show my child that he needs to live his life in fear. So I'm actually very happy we got it, and so that we can live our life as normal. We have the antibodies now, so they say you can't get it for, a few months again, which they're not really even sure if you can get it again. Everything is just so unknown with this. However, I know that we've gotten it once and we recovered from it, and we don't have to live in fear. And I would encourage anyone who hasn't gotten it and is worried about getting it, be cautious, take preventative measures, do things that you can, but do not live in fear. That is more detrimental. Suicide rates, drug rates, all of those things are skyrocketing because of this virus that it's literally ruining everyone's livelihood. I am watching people that I know who are so terrified of this virus literally sinking into depression. Their anxiety and their depression is through the roof, and they're causing more harm on themselves with the fear of getting COVID than if they were to actually get COVID. That's not a popular opinion, but this is my opinion, and I just feel you need to take precautions. You need to be careful. You need to take care of your body so that if you do get this, you can recover, but you need to not live in fear, because your mental health is just as damn important as your physical health. And plain and simple, people won't agree with me on it, but that's my input on this, and you can't live in fear. You have to live your life. You can't be locked up in a bubble forever. You just have to live your life. Anyways, that is all I'm gonna say. That was our experience. And actually, I feel better than I have ever felt, because I have been so conscious of the things that I'm eating, that I'm drinking. Ever since getting COVID, I have been like, my nutrition has been 100% on point. I've been drinking this gallon of water every single day. And I'll be honest, and I've been adding extra cardio. I've been doing yoga and meditation every single day, all of these things, because my anxiety skyrocketed from COVID, which was not good for me. I was like living like just in a box of anxiety. And so I've been doing these things every single day, and I have never felt better in my entire life in years and years and years. So I guess there are some pros to it, but anyways, that's all I'll say. Hope you guys, hope this is helpful for some of you. I almost forgot, I have to add in here, because this is one of the things that people ask me. They ask if I lost my taste and smell, and I did not, thank God, because I'm a chef. I cook, I need to taste, and I need to smell. If I'm cooking food, I want to know that it tastes good so that my customers are, it's very important for me. So I was very happy that I did not. However, there were a few days where I didn't lose taste or smell. I could still taste and smell everything, but I had a lingering aftertaste that was almost kind of like a chemical taste in my mouth. Everything that I ate, I could taste while I was eating it, and then after, there was this nasty aftertaste. So everything was just really, really tasted really gross. after. Like the aftertaste was really gross. I could still taste and smell. It was just this really nasty, lingering after taste and feeling that I had in my mouth. So had to add that in there.